So you're in your mid-40s right now?
42.
42?
42. Yeah, I'm still young.
So how long you guys been married?
7 years.
7 years.
7 years, going on 8.
So we had Kim on the show a couple months back, and so she told her side of the story of how you guys met. I want to know if it lines up with yours, so would you mind giving us your version?
Sure. So I had just come back from Kris. So I got asked to go outside the wire to pick up. So we were in, I think it was Jalaba? Somewhere in Iraq. Some real crap hole in Iraq. The bad part is at that time, there was no bases. Unlike now, it's built up there. So back then, when you leave, you're just in combat. You're just fighting because there's nowhere, if you pull over to go to sleep, there's nobody to protect you. There's no gate. There's no berm. There's no nothing. So I was outside the wire for like 3 months, 2 months, somewhere around there. Been out for a little while. I hadn't showered because there's no showers when you're out in the middle of Iraq. Didn't really eat very well. I lost a lot of weight. And I come back and all I wanted was a shower and some hot chow. I've been wearing the same, and plus if you wash your clothes, I don't know if you've ever been out in the wilderness for an extended period of time. When you wash what you have, you kind of put it into a bag with a little bit of water that you have. You don't have much water, unless you can pick up water somewhere or somebody gets you water. There's a ropu that you run into. A ropu's they suck out water out of a lake, or because along the Tigris there's these machines and they iodine or whatever they do, but they make it fresh so you can drink it. And then you stock up and hope you don't run out until the next place you're going to, because we didn't have bottled water back then. So all I wanted was a shower. After the shower, all I wanted to do was eat. I was getting kind of consoled as I came inside the wire by some of the senior Marines, like, hey, when you take a shower, don't smell your clothes, just different things, because it is what it is. So after I get done with all that, I had gotten a shower. No, I hadn't even showered yet. I run into an old buddy of mine, and he was on that base. He's like, man, you gotta see this chick, she's hot. And the last thing that was on my mind was looking at a woman. Not that I hadn't thought about it often. It was just, the whole thing was that was not where my head was. I wanted a shower. I wanted to eat. I was so freaking hungry, man. Like, cause if you either had MREs or we would like trade stuff with local Iraqis for like, we'd get a chicken here or a goat there, or ate impala. Never had an impala. Don't know if you have.
No.
Up in Tikrit, actually, there was an airfield there. Saddam had an airfield of exotic animals. And I actually have a picture of a bomb blowing up behind me, eating an MRE. Mouth is full of MRE. We took some of our cami netting and we're running it through this lake, catching fish. He had a feeder fish pond, catching fish so we could freaking eat. And they were out there shooting gazelle because we were starving. So yeah, it was actually not bad. I don't know if you ever get a chance. It wasn't impala, it was gazelle. It was gazelle. Yeah, it was pretty tasty. So I get it while the lion's like, they're yummy. But I don't know if that's a war crime for shooting gazelle. I apologize. It happened. But I don't think it is. But
So the blonde gazelle.
Yeah. So I come back, and just because my buddy is so relentless, he still is. He hasn't changed much. I say, whatever, man, let's go see her. So I go see her, and she was a vision. And I think the hardest part for me is she had walked by. And if you've been out in the wilderness for a very extended period of time, there's like this wake of air that people push off of themselves, and you don't really notice it until you have been outside of the world. And I could smell her, like she walked by, and I could feel the wind of her. I'm like,
So you're the lion that caught the scent of the gazelle.
yeah, and she was mean, which is understandable. She still is mean. She hasn't changed much. She is mean.
She's tough.
Oh, whatever. She was mean. So I kind of was like, whatever. Now, what's funny is, we found out years later that we actually have a ton of mutual friends. But she was mean, and I just kind of wrote it off. So that was the first time I met her. The next time I met her was in 29 Palms. I was working on a project, CPOF project. I was starting to build that for the Marine Corps. And she was working on a similar project, but on the civilian side. And I go over to meet this contractor I'm supposed to meet, and it was her. I remember exactly what she was wearing. She was sitting on the bench outside, one of the first, at least there, because it's 29 Palms, she's sitting there with her legs wide open, just hanging out on the bench, and I'm like, damn, a little bit of attitude. I had just got off my motorcycle. I didn't even own a car back then. That's so funny. And we just started talking. She was supposed to just give me a quick overview of this project she's working on, so I could figure out if I can build in what I'm doing with her or not. And we ended up talking about nothing that had to do with the project.
Those are the best.
Yeah, we talked about everything else but CPOF. I remember going back to my shop or my office, and who was it? It was Captain McDonough, and I looked at him, and we sat in the same office, me, the captain, and the major, and the three of us, so 2 officers and me, and I'm like, I just met the girl I'm going to marry.
Aww.
And they all start laughing because, you know, at that time I was a little bit of I liked women, you know.
Playa.
I think Kim's specific word was caveman.
Yeah. Well, so it's in our family. It's actually called the McCullough curse.
Okay.
They call it the McCullough curse, boozing women. It's the McCullough curse. It ruins every McCullough almost. There's only a couple of us that have survived the curse. But yeah, I like girls, and I was like, that's the girl. So at that point, we became good friends. Then we became best friends, and this is years that this went on until I kissed her. I just kissed her. So okay, so there's 2 parts. First part is some random night, I'd been drinking, and I was going to the bathroom or something, and we kind of like passed each other, and I just looked at her. I put my hand around her waist, and I just kissed her, and she was kind of like in shock because we'd been friends for so long, and she's like, "You've been drinking," and she kind of just like wrote it off. So I left it alone, and then. The second time, I don't know if she told this. I don't know if she's gonna get mad about it. But
Do tell.
I actually back then was MySpace. Is it
Yeah.
MySpace?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to call it MySpace to my place. That's where I would hunt. That was my hunting grounds. And so I was, you know, I found this girl, who we're actually still friends with now, and we went out on a date. And Kim the whole time is just like, oh my gosh, she's falling for it, and you know, because she'd seen all my tricks. And sure enough, you know. Now, the thing was, I never allowed a girl to stay the night at my house. Kim was the only one because she was my friend. Women were not allowed to stay. So if anything happened, adults, consensual, they had to leave. When we're done, well, it's 2 a.m. I don't care. Get out.
Caveman.
Yeah. Now, I've changed a lot. This is a lot of years. This is a long time ago. Now, keep in mind, so I said we've been married 7 years, but we were engaged for 3, and then we dated for 3. So this is, you know, this is a lot of years ago. So after I kicked this girl out, and it was cold, Kim slept on a futon in the front room next to the front door. So when the door was open and it closed, it kind of woke her up. We started drinking some Jameson, and the rest is history. Been together ever since, you know? So, yeah.
Oh, that's so awesome.
That's our love story.
How'd you ask her to marry you? Oh, no, so go ahead, John.
Hands down the best hookup story in the studio ever. So.
The thing is, I didn't tell you what happened the next day.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
So the next day, I'm hungover, just ruined, and I'm laying in the bathroom. And the bathroom was it was like a torture dungeon or whatever they call it on the exotic sites. It was not good. And the toilet, we used to call it the butt spa because in my house the cold water was hot water and the hot water was cold water.
Oh dear.
So when you would flush it, it was boiling, steaming hot water. So if you puked in it, all the hot boiling puke would come back and hit you, and it'd open your pores, and then it made you puke more. So I'm just laying in there puking. Just this, it's like it's a vicious cycle. Most people just went and puked outside because of the butt spa. And she went and got me Pepto that next morning. We were supposed to go to work. I didn't go to work, and I was the boss. I didn't go to work. And here's the thing. So if you're watching this and we work together, I'm out. I'm retired. So I don't care. So she does that, and the whole day while she's out, I'm like, okay, so was that just like a thing? Are we together? How do I feel about this? Like, it kind of like, it ruined my whole perspective on everything. Cause like I had it all figured out. I'm like, I'm never getting married. I'm going to have fun until I die. You know, I'm going to go out through, you know, a failed liver or something. And no, I just, like by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm all in. When I talked to Kim sometime later, she did the same exact thing all freaking day because we'd been best friends for so long.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of like, well, is this what we want, or are we good just staying best friends with maybe this every now and again because that was really good, or like where are we going to go from here? So it turns out it's where we went was 2 kids and a family and a business.